In a studio that's in a basement comes the epic story of how two friends changed the future of the movie podcast game forever. The reviews are in. Boys Life magazine gives the High Sci podcast 4.5 acorns. The Daily Bugle says, these guys are super legit. And Pope Francis declares the podcast as life-affirming. From the kid who tried to get smart with David Spade and got fucking old.
You're still out. You're still bad.
And the guy who can name all four Baldwin brothers.
Alec, William, Daniel, and the baby boy, Stephen.
Live from the studio of his parents' basement. The Have You Seen It podcast.
Are you settled in?
Right in time. Right on time.
Are you settled down? Are you nestled in?
Down,
Is
yes.
everything...
I'm in. I'm ready to go.
Here
Ready to rock and roll.
Here
Cash
we are,
Cross.
Mason. Another Sunday.
Another
here
Sunday.
again. It's
Every
Sunday.
Sunday.
It's Sunday when we're recording this, but people will be hearing it on what? Tuesday? Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday.
Monday
this
or
week.
Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday. Yeah. Here again, another Sunday. What did you do this weekend, Mason? First,
Actually-
I know what you did. Can we give our quick review of the Woodland graduation ceremonies? What did you think going into it? What was your impression? How do you feel going out of it?
The entire plot totally threw me for a loop. I had no idea that what was going to take place that day
Yeah.
was kids were going to go up there, grab their diplomas, and walk off. I would have never saw that coming.
The only ones who like being there are the kids, and even when I was graduating, I couldn't hear anyone. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't tell you a single thing from that day.
Of course. No, you
It's
can't.
such a big day, just that day, and then any day after that, because right after that, you're getting hit hard,
Right. Life hits you right in the face.
like a truck. It's gonna hit you hard, and
You realize
and
you
then,
got to go to work?
Yeah, and then
That
from a
sucks.
year from then, you'll be thinking, why did I even care about that stupid ceremony? Oh man, it's such a, I don't know, minimal part.
I don't even
Yeah.
remember ours.
Either do
really.
I.
I
mean,
don't.
it's
I don't
just
remember
not-
anything.
Yeah, either
from
do I.
it.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not. Because right after that, I mean, you're not really given a chance. You're thrown right into the deep end.
You are.
Yeah.
It's a new.
They
it's
give
a
you
new
that
venture in
diploma and they
life.
kick your ass.
Yeah,
That little
it
piece of
is.
paper, and it means absolutely nothing. That paper hasn't done anything for
It's
me.
got sentimental value, I suppose.
To be honest, I'm not sure where mine is. I think my dad
you
might
know
have
what?
thrown it away.
Yeah. That's the thing. I found mine a little while ago. I'm like, dang, I'm glad I have this because people know I graduated high school. So
Who's asking?
everyone. Everyone asked me,
You're right.
Mason, you don't seem like you would be
I
intelligent enough
constantly
to
question
graduate
it.
high
and
school.
I constantly have you go out and get that diploma because I don't believe it.
No,
at some
you never
point.
do. As a matter of fact, it's literally right up there.
Those are
somewhere.
times when I say cannot possible that the education. Then I remember our education system is failing.
It is.
They're pushing kids
It's
out.
tough.
They do
It's
not
really
want
tough.
you any longer than you have to.
Was
be.
this whole thing brought up because you can see how proud I am of my graduation? It's a nice frame.
Where's it
posted on my wall. Oh, right there, right off camera where no one can see it. It's plastered in gold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah, you
see
see
it.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did put it up there.
I did. I was
That
very
is
proud
nice.
of it. I said, this is probably
Well, you
the
peaked.
greatest thing I'll ever
You peaked.
accomplish
You
in my
definitely
entire
peaked.
life.
That's
Yeah.
unfortunate because you
It is sad.
You did
Very
peak.
sad.
Yeah.
You peak.
You peaked
in
early.
school.
You
It's
peaked
tough.
a little
Too early. You want to peak right about 30,
Yeah.
35.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
where you want to peak.
For sure. Yeah.
Not when you're 17.
Yeah, you don't want to have a great 5-minute start, and then it's because it's a marathon.
right,
So
right. Then you're gonna be
you
exhausted.
sprinted right
Yeah.
out of the gate, and now you're walking.
Not good.
You're sluggish the rest of those 23 miles.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah. But a great start. You had a
Well,
great
that's
start. I'll give you
impressive.
that.
You can sprint for 3 miles, man.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the peak. That's the peak right there.
God, I'm trying to remember what that someone in a film they did that race and they sprinted to start, and I think it was Michael Scott, The Office. I think that's what it was. But he sprints in the very beginning of the race, and then he's like way behind everyone else.
Yeah, that's the same episode where
It's like, oh, I should've
Andy's
ate
nipples are
pasta.
chafing so bad
Yes,
because he
yeah.
forgot his nipple tape, which
Yeah.
is a real thing in the marathon world.
Is it really?
Yeah, the friction's so much that you gotta
That's crazy.
wrap them.
Sensitive
I gotta wrap
nipples.
those nips.
You got
my
it.
guy.
You gotta wrap the
got it.
nips.
Can you imagine that? It's just because it's just your shirt rubbing up against I mean, just a slow.
It'd be so
run.
uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, dude.
Especially after like.
You haven't
mile
seen
16.
pictures? Oh, I gotta pull some pictures of some marathon with some bloody
there's
nips.
nothing I want to see more than some bloody nipples right now.
Because this is marathon. I'm typing on Google.
Okay.
Bloody nips,
Oh,
and I don't have safe search on.
Oh, that could be a problem.
So anything could happen here.
Wow, people's nipples literally bleed.
Look at that.
Holy crap, dude. For the people who can't see this,
Yeah.
this guy is wearing a
Describe
white
it.
shirt, and there's blood all
It's
trickling
pouring
down. Both
It
nipples.
looks like someone just took a spray paint can and just ran it down his shirt.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great analogy.
But that's like that's some like crazy, like a torture. Like imagine being strapped to a table and just someone's just slowly rubbing your nipple with
For
your
hours
shirt.
upon hours upon
Yeah.
hours. Yeah.
Look at that. They wear it's like it's worn like a badge though, badge of honor. Look at those nips.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you got those big pancake nipples too,
Oh,
those
not
big
good.
sand dollar
Yeah.
nips,
Start chafing those up. That's going to be an issue.
you might lose some real blood.
You definitely could.
See this guy, he went completely shaven, forgot about the nips.
Forgot about
You
the-
can't shave
can't
off the
forget
nips.
about the nips.
You can't shave off the nipples for sure. Well, Mason, speaking about nipples, why are we here today?
Weird segue. But
Well, this
what I
movie
will
had a
say-
lot of nipples in it.
It did have quite a few nipples in it.
A
It did,
lot of
yes.
nipples in it, but not of the female variety.
No,
Did it
not
show
of.
any female nudity?
No female. No,
None. I didn't think so. Yeah, try to think of it.
I didn't see anything.
I don't think so. Which it makes sense, to be honest.
Of course, yeah, it's
If
Elton
there's
John movie. Yeah, I mean, it's
If there's
Rocketman.
gonna be a movie that's not gonna show a lot of female nudity, it's probably gonna
Rocketman.
be. Although I think there's some women thrown in there every once in a while.
There were.
Just to keep it
And in the
just
dance
keep it
routines and
spicy
stuff, yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, and those orgies, man.
Yeah, those fully clothed orgies.
Those orgies, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, that's what we're here today to review the long-awaited Elton John, the Reggie Dwight story.
Yes, Reggie Dwight.
The long-awaited biopic of Elton John, Rocketman.
Yep.
We're here. We finally saw it. We've seen it.
And I'm very shocked. I don't even know if you noticed, but I'm wearing a Rocketman
Oh, I
t-shirt.
noticed.
Yeah.
Oh, I noticed.
Like
Yeah.
Elton John right
Yeah.
there, man.
We're both somewhat Rocketman fans, right?
Very much so,
Yeah.
yes.
I've said it earlier, but at my first concert was Elton John, Billy Joel.
Yeah. You like to bring it up now. And now you're just rubbing that shit in. It's like
Well, it's
like
relevant.
picking
Is
up
it not
dog
relevant
shit
to the
and
podcast?
just
Is it not relevant to the
smearing it
podcast?
in my
Should I not
face
bring it up
every
now?
other- No, you
I
definitely
brought it up
should.
twice. I've literally brought it up twice.
3 times. 3 times. I've been counting.
Well, when you're speaking about Rocketman, I've been there. I mean, I
know,
could have.
you've
I was a stone. I could have easily jumped on that stage.
You want to hear something crazy? My parents just told me that they were in Vegas in the early 2000s for some benefit, whatever. It was like some concert benefit, and all in the same night, it was Elton John and Robin Williams. Like they were doing like comedy and then Elton John, and like they said it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was
that
just so
sounds
much
awesome.
fun.
Yeah, Elton John and Robin Williams. That'd be crazy.
But there's no better duo than Billy Joel and Elton John. For
There's
a
really
concert,
not.
especially piano.
Because you got those
Are you-
dueling pianos going, and they got their own like turntables, and they go at it, man.
That's so
They're
sick.
both little tiny men, short
Yeah, yeah.
fingers. But man, once they get going, once someone pops them up on that piano stool, gets them going, there's no stopping
No,
them.
you can't.
Man, and the amount of people those two guys have probably fucked in their time.
Many people.
Thousands, probably.
Thousands, yeah.
It's
It's gotta
gotta
be
be
thousands.
thousands. I'm thinking hundreds at maybe one at a time. I mean, they probably fucked hundreds at one time.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Well, I mean, those orgies had to have been crazy.
Yeah.
And you know, there's crazy orgies.
Oh, of course. You're
For
rock
sure.
and roll, man.
Oh, yeah.
You're Elton
Oh,
John.
absolutely.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
gonna be orgies.
And Billy Joel, I mean, yeah. The only reason we probably haven't got a Billy Joel biopic is I hear he's kind of an asshole.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people say that, yeah. Probably wouldn't be a great movie.
I would say it makes sense. So, I mean, musicians and some of those super artistic people are just that way. You know, they're just not friendly.
Yeah, well, there's no reason for them to
yeah.
to assume that they're gonna be nice. But Elton John, we should say, is I think he's one of the good ones.
Oh, yeah.
Especially after
very nice
seeing
guy,
this, I
yeah.
think surprisingly, even though how famous he is and how he's the #1 fucking record seller of all time, And at one point, even the movie says he was selling 5% of all record sales in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, when he was
Insane.
walking through the bottom of the
tunnel,
stadium.
yeah. That's insane to think about.
wild.
But what did you think about this, Mason? What did you think? Is it the biopic that Elton John deserves? Is it, compare it to Bohemian Rhapsody, which everyone's comparing it to, right?
I went and saw Bohemian Rhapsody one time. I went to go see Rocketman twice. Whenever I go to see a film twice, that's always a great sign.
I agree.
I love I fucking love the way every transition happened in this movie. I really like the musical scores of this. Like putting his songs, Taron Egerton actually singing was cool too. And just the way
amazing.
Those transitions,
Amazing.
the way they just molded the story together, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I thought this was definitely the biopic Elton John deserved.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest thing I remember walking away from Bohemian Rhapsody or looking back is how forgettable I think it was. Is how little I remember about the actual movie, right? That's how, I mean, this movie was so much darker and so much deeper than Bohemian Rhapsody was. You really fucking cared about Elton John for way more than I ever cared about. And with him singing, that gives the actor so much more freedom. Because you're not, I mean, when you're lip singing, you can only do what the
they're
lip singing.
doing.
You're putting in a
Exactly.
box. So with him, Tara Edgerton, and it also puts his own spin on it, which I think it's very difficult to judge someone's acting in a biopic. Because you can either do it one of two ways, where you can act like the person, but also put your own spin on it and give it your own kind of twist, or you can act exactly like the person, which is I don't know which one is harder to do or which one's more impressive. I honestly think it's more impressive to me when someone puts their own spin on it and does that than adding like exact copy. Because I feel like anyone could just act like a copy of someone. You study someone long enough, you could probably do the mannerisms of anyone.
Yeah, that's a good
Right.
point. I would say physicalities, though, are extremely important in portraying who they are. You can
Yeah.
put your own spin on it as like an actor, but at the same time with the facial recognitions and stuff.
Oh,
you kinda have to
absolutely,
keep
yeah.
those the same. You know how when Elton John gets mad, his lip kind of curls a little bit?
Yeah.
You notice
He did a great. There's at points in this movie where I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, they were very, very similar looking, and it's
Even the way he yells, too.
it's surprising to me. Yeah, yeah, he got the mannerisms really well with the way he moves his lips and everything, and how pissed off he gets too.
I mean, I think Taron Egerton, are you kidding me? I think this is the best performance I've ever seen him in anything by far and away.
Well, it's so.
far and away.
Let's talk about the Academy. It's funny. I was laughing about it earlier, but the Academy really put themselves in a box by giving Rami Malek the Oscar for.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
So yeah, because how do you not give the Oscar now to Taron Egerton, where he
how.
did
I don't know how you don't.
a better job than Rami Malek? I mean, hands down, I think he did a better job than Rami Malek.
Yeah.
So it's putting him in a box. How do you not? I mean, if you don't, one way you don't give him the Oscar completely ruins the credibility of the Oscars.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
he did a better job.
But it also
there's
puts
no one
the
that doesn't
Academy
say,
in a tough spot because it's like, okay, now we're giving awards out for biopics every year.
yeah,
You know,
but you have to. You did it
you have
once.
to because it's amazing, and not only that, but the performance is amazing too.
Yeah, and it was better. I mean, him singing. I mean, how talented? Who would have guessed the guy from Kingsman?
And Robin Hood.
Yeah. I don't know how many people remember Robin Hood with that Jamie Foxx movie you're talking about.
Yeah,
that famous
was
Jamie
great
Foxx movie.
film. Great film. One of the better ones.
But yeah, wow, that's crazy. And
Yeah,
he didn't sound exactly like Elton John. It wasn't an impression of Elton John. I mean, it sounded like Elton John.
Yeah, it did.
But it was his own. It was his own twist for sure. I mean, if you heard the two, you could distinguish the two between them.
Oh, distinct. Yeah,
For sure.
definitely. Yeah.
But it was still. I mean, it was so good. It was like reminded me of Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix. Well, he sang.
That's
all
funny. I just was watching that on AMC.
Yeah, well, he sang all of Johnny Cash's music, and he didn't sound exactly like Johnny Cash, but he put his own twist on it, and it was amazing. And it gives them more freedom to do with whatever they want. And the music in this movie, I mean, You can't ask for a better catalog, but I love what they added to a lot of the music.
Oh, I loved it.
Like they added a choir and some of it, and a big like string quartet and stuff like
and
that.
a lot of it gave you goosebumps because the storytelling with it, like even he's a young boy and he's doing this with the light.
Yeah.
And then it's a
I
whole
like that.
ensemble
It's
of
shot very well, beautifully
Yeah.
shot for sure.
Yeah,
The
that was
cinematography is
awesome.
great. Yeah, and I love. This is the way to do it. The mix of fantasy elements with the reality. If you're gonna do musical, it's a fucking musical. It's
course.
already kind of absurd because everyone's singing spontaneously. So why not just go? In and they took so much more risk than Bohemian Rhapsody did.
Oh, so many more.
And the
Yeah.
fantasy paid off with just the stuff of them like floating around.
Yeah, floating.
And
was
it's
a big
it's
one,
that mix
falling
of
in the
it.
pool.
It's a mix of kind of like a Broadway play and like an acid trip of
Mm-hmm.
what his trip would or what his history would be if someone told you like a story or whatever. But yeah, I liked the way of I liked the fantasy elements for sure, and I was a blend of both. Although the drama was very good in it too.
It was.
So we went from fantasy to very real. They did not shy away from the drug use, which is again, it being rated R could not have been made without it being rated R.
Oh, of course, no, in no way,
Definitely
no way,
not.
shape, or form
Absolutely
can
not.
you an
No.
Elton John and have it a PG.
And they tried when Bohemian Rhapsody came out and was PG-13. They were scared. They were shaken. They thought about coming out with a PG-13 version, but Elton John said no. Said you can't. It'd be impossible.
Really.
You couldn't. There's no way. And I like what they did where they didn't glorify the drug use, but they made it where it's very, it was a huge part of his life, and it fucked him up
It did
for sure.
It did.
But man, he had a pretty fucked up life.
Yeah, he did. His parents were terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible to him.
I kept thinking, man, his mom is gonna have some kind of redeemable quality at
grief.
one point. Not once. Not once did she ever. But she was played very, very well by Bryce Dallas Howard. She did a great job, and they had good makeup on her, make her look older towards the end, also. But yeah, she did a good job. What a bitch, though.
Seriously.
Your
And the
son is
father,
Elton
too.
John.
I know.
At one point, you gotta go. Okay, but they never gave him anything. Not a single thing. Yeah, his dad was a bigger dick than anyone. But
I was very confused. The way that they were talking about Elton John's dad in this movie, I kept wondering and kept asking the question: did his dad serve in World War II or something? Is that why he was so cold to him all the time?
Well, yeah, he was a lifelong military man. So he was. I don't know. It kind of made the point to where at one point he said something about having holes in him or something. But if you met anyone that's a lifetime military person, they're definitely a certain type of person. They're more. Because that's their job to be a little more cold and calculating. But I think his dad was also just an asshole. At one point, they sing about how he couldn't really love anyone.
Yeah,
So
and that's,
maybe I don't know.
And
if
that's
it
what
was,
I was wondering if it was like a war thing.
Well, he had to been because Elton John was born in 1947. So
Right after World War II.
His dad was in the Air Force that entire time. So I'm sure he did serve at one point. But yeah, so Rocketman, directed by Dexter Fletcher, the same guy who stepped in and directed Bohemian Rhapsody
After
Bryan Singer dropped. Right. So this guy's kind of found his groove. And this guy's also an actor. He's been in a bunch of movies. But screenplay by Lee Hall. It is the musical retelling of the story of Elton John's life from his years as a prodigy at the Royal Academy of Music through his enduring musical partnership with Bernie Taupin and his struggles with romantic relationship and drugs. Really, it's the Bernie Taupin Elton John story. It's more, they have the best relationship in this entire movie.
And it's a genuine friendship.
Oh,
you
for
see
sure,
it on
yeah.
screen. Their chemistry's really good
And that's
as friends.
pretty interesting in a movie where it was never a love thing. It was
No.
just a strong brother bond.
Yep.
Why everyone else kind of just used Elton John. He was the only one that ever stood by him. Luckily for him, because, he didn't have anyone else besides Bernie.
No, he didn't.
He had no one else.
But Bernie also contributed to his music, too. Writing all the lyrics.
He was huge.
Yeah.
And they worked on more than 30 albums together.
That is so insane.
That's
Can you imagine
insane.
putting 30 albums together
and
in your
he
life?
wrote most of the Elton John's best, but it was definitely a partnership for
Oh, yeah.
sure. He
Undoubtedly.
wrote a lot of the lyrics, but Elton John put all the music together, all of it. I mean, because he even says how Bernie talking about at one point says he's tone deaf and he wouldn't.
Yeah,
because he
didn't want to sing.
He couldn't sing or anything like that. But yeah, Elton John put all the music together, and he was a prodigy growing up. He was born Reginald Dwight Reggie, and that's something that he says it in the movie. But he's right. You don't pay to see Reginald Dwight unless he's doing your taxes or something like that.
Exactly. I mean, that name too, Reginald Dwight.
Yeah, that's a guy that's just
Sounds
he's
like an
got to be
accountant.
working in a cubicle. Yeah, I mean he carries a calculator at all times. That's definitely not a superstar, I would say.
No.
But the movie opens up with Elton John, and he comes in. He's dressed in his bright orange devil suit, and that's got all kinds of hidden messages behind it.
Of course,
whatever.
yeah. He's walking into rehab too.
Walking into rehab, and the song "Goodbye Yellow Brick Road" plays, and he barges into the hall where it's a AA, and he sits down, and it's kind of funny. There's some general funny scenes in this movie for sure.
Yeah, there are.
With how outrageous he is, because he is quite the character, I would say. His
Oh.
personality is so much larger than life. But yeah, walking into that, and he's got his 8-foot span, feathered wings and everything, and he sits down, and he introduces himself as Elton Hercules John.
Yes, it's always Hercules.
It's a great name.
It is.
That is a great name. But he admits that he's an alcoholic, a cocaine addict, and he says cocaine.
Cocaine.
I am a cocaine addict, and a sex addict, and a bulimic, which is, something that I didn't know a lot about. But I mean, it's very evident of why he was bulimic, but it's not something talked about a lot. That he was very wary about his weight and everything. He threw up.
Yeah,
Constantly,
that's crazy.
and which is very bad for your body, extremely
Yeah,
unhealthy.
super bad, especially when you do it consistently.
Oh, all the time. Yeah, your hair can start falling out, which could be a possibility of why he went bald. Although his mom does say that his family does run in the family, but yeah. So he sits down and he's at the AA, and the lady who's in charge of AA asks about his childhood, and he starts talking about his younger self, and he sees a version, and that's when
I love that scene.
That's
where
when we
these
start getting
transitions start gumming.
Yeah, and that's when we start getting the fantasy elements too. And he
Mm-hmm.
starts seeing himself, and at first he lies and says that he had a normal childhood, but then we go back and they start playing "The Bitch Is Back."
The bitch is back. Yeah,
Which
it was so funny because I just put on Elton John's greatest hits when I was driving to the
same as
today,
when I was on
and
my
then
way
Bitch
back.
Is Back
I did
came
too.
up.
Yeah, "The Bitch Is Back" is a great song, and it's used in a great. And this movie, it definitely uses the timeline of Elton John very liberally. I mean, it's not really following any real timeline of when he came out with
'cause it
this
jumps
music.
around.
It
Yeah.
jumps around for
It
sure.
does.
Yeah, because there's a lot of songs.
But again, I want to make this clear for people. It never felt sloppy. Like, where are we? I have no idea. You always knew where you were in the story.
No, but because the songs were used to move
The plot along.
the plot along. Every song was used to move the plot along,
Mm-hmm.
and once you start watching it, you realize it is that fantasy element. So it's not a true, biopic of. I mean, it's not a.
It's more the story of his life
exactly,
told through like a third person God view.
Yeah, it's just a
of his
story through his
story.
life told through his music.
Yes.
It's almost like a 2-hour long music video of music told through his life. I mean, that's pretty much what it is, with linear moments but yeah, and every song is used very well. They never waste a song. There's some points when he started singing Saturday, I was thinking, oh, they're gonna release this apart, but that transition is
It was
awesome.
so awesome. It's the best one.
Yeah,
it's so
it's
good.
one of the best ones. It's one of the good. They're all really good, but
The
yeah,
Saturday
it's
one was the one with the fair and everything.
that's the one where he starts singing as a kid. Yeah, and that's his first show.
And then he goes back as an adult.
Yeah, and he goes through the
I love
fence,
that.
and
That
it's
was
so
my
cool.
favorite
And
one.
he starts spinning
Yeah.
around. Yeah, and it's so
Because all the choreograph for all those people, because they're all dancing, they're doing this, and
Yeah.
then they're fighting with each other. I thought all of it looked so awesome, dude. Both times I went,
is.
that was my favorite. That was my favorite.
And this
musical
is the
number.
hardest time I've ever had watching a movie and trying not to sing along.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yep.
it was definitely difficult for sure.
It is.
Because I was. Yeah, I've listened to Elton John for my parents love Elton John. Elton John and Billy Joel, that's how I first got introduced. And when I went to that concert, I've told you this, but I was the youngest person by
By like 30 years.
Yeah. By far. Like people were probably thinking these kids just wandered in here and got lost or something because I was
Our mom and dad got them free tickets or
yeah,
something.
for
They
sure.
couldn't go.
So it was definitely not but yeah, I mean you cannot ask for a better catalog of music to have to work with.
Do you want to know the first concert I ever went to? And I can't believe I'm going to say this openly.
Yeah, let me hear it.
It was at the amphitheater when it like just opened or whatever. And I, let's just say I had a 9-year-old boy crush on her. Jessica Simpson. You remember her when she was
Yeah.
singing back in the day?
Man, she's
she
still
had that
alive.
show. Oh yeah, she's still kicking.
Is she?
Yeah.
What's she doing these
I
days?
had no idea.
Remember
I
his
haven't-
sister Ashley Simpson?
Yep. And
Remember
then she got caught lip
Lip-syncing
syncing
on
on
Saturday Night
what,
Live.
Leno or whatever?
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
One of the most
Ooh.
awkward television.
And then she just didn't know what to
it
do,
is-
so she's like
She
dancing.
started doing like a hoedown kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh god.
It was so
That's
cringy.
brutal,
It
man.
was
That's so
it was brutal.
brutal.
Yeah. And then I kind of killed the Simpson name, I think.
Yes, it did. Yeah. Because, well, I mean, I have never heard anything from
That's funny
either
because
sister.
you want to
since.
know what my real first concert is? I don't count it because I was like 3 at the time. But the Backstreet Boys came to
What?
Clark County Fair before they were famous and played a free
Really?
show. Yeah, that my mom took me and my brother to go see. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Because back then, the thing that really came from like the 50s, but I think before the internet age, when you were starting to go around, you would always go to fairs and shit around America. You would tour around and do just fair shows. And that's how you would start getting, and that's what they were doing.
Well, because
Yeah.
we used to have a lot
and
of big
no
people
one knew
come
who
to
they
the
were.
fairs.
No one knew who they were.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember anything from it, but
No,
yeah.
of course not. Not if
Isn't
you're
that
3 years
Backstreet
old.
Bears at Clark County
That's
Fair.
cool,
The
though.
smallest.
That's cool.
It's so weird. If only we knew.
I know.
I could have. Yeah, who knows? I could have been like I don't know, roadie or something. Anyway, so it skips forward to 1947, and Reggie Dwight. He's a little chubster kind of, a little ginger to be honest. It's tough.
There she is. That's Jessica Simpson.
Wow, she's really filled out.
Oh.
Man, she does it. not bad, but
But
yeah,
Times have changed.
Time
Time
has
has-
run. Yeah.
yeah.
Not what she used to be, unfortunately.
dude.
Remember when she was in that movie Dukes of Hazzard?
Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, bro, she used to be stunning.
She's
Now she looks more of I don't know how you describe it. She looks like she could really star in Dukes of Hazzard now, but just like as one of the town folks.
Yeah, as one of the town folk. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
as one of the
Yeah.
farmers or
I think
something. Not
that's
as much
fair.
as yeah,
I think that's very fair to say.
Anyway, so he was born to parents Sheila and Stanley, and they were very cold parents right off the bat. The mom, not a redeeming quality to her name, really.
Not a single one.
The dad, oh, what a dick he was.
He was an asshole.
He loved jazz. He did love
He
jazz,
did.
and
He did not like when Reginald would pick up the
records.
Records,
No.
though.
Did not. He said, "Get your chubby little hands off those." And I like it. At one point, he comes in and he goes, "Is there any dinner ready, or do you feed it all to that kid?"
Yeah, that's tough, man.
And that was
that's a bad
that
thing
was
to
literally
say.
the first time he saw his dad in months.
Yeah, months. Yeah, and that's the very first thing he says.
He hated this little kid.
He hated his kid. He did, man. I mean, he wouldn't even give the kid a hug. He's like, "When are you gonna hug me?" He's like, "Quit being so soft." I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, come
he,
on.
He's one of those dads. He really did not like
Your
him
kid's
right off the
freaking
bat.
5, man.
And not only that, but he's a prodigy.
Yeah, no kidding. You
The
figure
one
you'd be
good
a
thing-
little proud of your
The one
your
good thing
son.
he had besides Bernie, which we got to mention, was the grandma. The grandma was
grandma
awesome.
was influential in his life.
She was the only person who showed him any God. I mean, if he didn't have a grandma, he might have been a Dahmer.
He very well
If he
could
never
have been.
found that piano, he might be
yeah.
doing.
Elton Dahmer.
He might be making bone pianos.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
creepy. That's-
Yeah, he might be he might be making those lavish skin suits.
Ugh.
Like how he had a real flair for
Uh-huh.
costumes. He might
Yeah,
be making.
he did. Oh, skin suits
skin
for the
suits,
costumes
skin
to
suits for the
perform
costume,
with
yeah.
his skeleton
Exactly,
piano. That makes
yep.
sense. Yeah.
So
It's all
thank
dangerous.
God.
It's a dangerous road to go down.
That's really how important it is for you. Gotta have one person that looks after you.
All
You
the
gotta
time. One
have
person.
at least one. You gotta find, if you're listening, find that one. There's gotta be someone out there. You gotta find that one, because if not, we've seen what happens.
We have.
You
And
start,
it's not good.
You start pickling people.
Yeah.
You start
One by one.
You make an altar out of bones, and it's not good. It's never good.
Never
It's
healthy.
Not
It's
good for
not
your
a healthy
health.
way
No.
to.
You don't want to
go
get a
about it.
hobby. He found the piano. That's what you gotta do. He found
So,
the piano.
moral to the story: if you're thinking about making skin suits, reconsider. Go buy yourself a keyboard or
Get
a
a
piano.
hobby. Get a friend. There's something else out there.
Yes.
Get a band.
Start a band.
I'm sure a lot of people. I'm sure there's a lot of band leaders out there that could have either been serial killers or started a band.
And I
Like
would
how many
say
rock
that's
and roll? 90%.
90%.
Ozzy.
Yeah.
Ozzy doesn't start a band. What else is he gonna do?
Live on the side of the road.
Start a cult. I think.
Start a cult. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Start murdering people, and that always ends in a bad way.
it's not good.
But yeah, so he shows interest in piano at a very young age. He is kind of like a prodigy, where even like a Rain Man, I guess you could say, where he hears melodies and he can
he can just
automatically
play
play
'em.
them
Yeah.
without even just by playing by ear. That is some Rain Man shit.
It is.
When you see your kid doing that, if you see your kid and he's young and he's like doing anything, he's like painting, like Picasso or something, or he's like picking up, or he sees a chessboard and he starts automatically doing chess, follow that. That's your ticket out of there. There's so many parents who don't indulge kids when they see like their prodigies or something at something. If your kid's good at something, you gotta just go for that. I mean, he's gonna
Heck
make you some
yeah.
money.
Especially if they pick it up like that.
Like, remember his mom in this? She sees him play piano. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
Doesn't care. The grandma sees dollar signs.
Oh, definitely.
She's
Grandma knew
like-
what was up.
Yeah,
She goes,
she-
man, if I was 20 years younger right now.
But yeah, you gotta just bank on your kid and just hoping he's gonna pick up something and be able to do just.
And always remember, if
Maybe
you're
he's
having
really good at
problems
math.
with the wife, bring in a kid, because the kid always gets the relationship on a more steady and nicer.
Well, I think that was a big part. Was dad was such a dick. I think the dad hated the wife,
And then they had a kid.
and then the
it
kid
made it
just
work.
reminded him
Yep.
of the wife, and he's
Exactly.
just like, wife, really fucking, because the wife was a bummer to be around. Sheila.
Yeah, wasn't the best person to.
And I think what it was getting at the start was she was a little loose around
She
town.
would, she would hang around town with the boys.
She was going out a
She called
lot.
them the boys.
She was going out a lot,
not
and the
good.
dad was just like, "Well, fuck, I got my albums. I got my jazz albums.
I got my jazz albums.
I got
that's
old
it.
Count Bassant. I can listen to him all day while my wife's out around town, just getting around. Is what I assume. Is that what they
Or
were getting
Reginald
at?
Cotter in the car with that guy
Yeah.
too.
Strange enough, that guy ended up like being with her for like 30 years.
That is true. Yeah.
So I don't know
Hell
how
of a friend.
loose she really was. And that guy actually was way better than his dad ever was. That guy was kind of cool. He
Yeah,
kind
he
of
was
got
kinda
him a rock
nice.
and
He's like
roll.
the cool dad. But it's
Yeah.
real easy to be the fucking cool dad when your other dad's a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's true. You just don't have to be a real piece of shit.
Exactly. You just got to be a decent person.
Yeah, I mean, even normal. You don't even have to be that nice, really. Just bottom line,
Just
average.
on the line. Yeah. Just average. Yeah. All around.
But yeah, so Reggie hopes to play something for his father on his return. But when Stanley returns home, he takes no interest in his son. Again, they see his son. He's 4 years old. He's playing piano. What was I doing at 4 years old? Couldn't tie my shoe, for
No.
one. Was having real struggles with that. Sometimes I think I would just stop breathing. I just think I would just forget to breathe, which is a problem that
It
kids
could be a
have
problem, yeah.
sometimes. This kid, he's playing piano. His parents could care less. I mean, a 4-year-old, imagine being 4 and just belting out jams.
Well, they weren't even excited at all. I mean, the mom kind of looked at it more as a burden than anything else.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even when he was starting to make money with Bernie.
Yeah.
He's like, get your papers off my table. It's like, my house will stay clean. It's like, what? They're making big money right now.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
That's but so they eventually get him lessons. Even the guy who teaches him is like, this kid, you got to get this kid. I mean, he's the fucking Mozart of the 50s or whenever he was alive. But and eventually he gets a membership to the Royal Academy of Music, and that's a big deal.
It is.
And
Very
still
big
his
deal.
parents are like, "Oh God, I gotta drive him down the block? Are you kidding me? I gotta take him every day?
Are you? This is what parenting is. This is not what I signed up
I have
for.
things to do. I have men to see. I have to be around town." I don't think she was working.
I didn't see her go to a job, if that's what you're saying.
I don't know what she was doing, but eventually the grandma had to step in and was like, "All right, I'll fucking take him, I guess." And she takes
she
him.
did.
Finally. And yeah, he goes, and immediately everyone knows that he's a superstar, right? I mean, they start letting him play, and eventually he joins a band called Bluesology. And he takes interest in rock and roll when his mom brings home records, right? And eventually, and he ended up finding his mom making out with some like 1950s Elvis impersonator.
Very strange, yeah.
But that kind of breaks his heart. Eventually, I guess she stays with this guy, and the dad finds out, and the dad,
He leaves.
of course, it was kind of just an excuse. He was just
he was just
waiting
to leave, and he kind of said that when he was yelling at her.
He said it for sure.
So
Not
I've been here for
kind of.
10
Yeah.
years, and he goes, and then you cheat on me or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
he was like, "Thank God she fucking finally cheated on me. I can get the hell out of here and listen to my goddamn records alone." Just wanted
Peace
to
and
be alone.
quiet.
That pudgy kid keeps walking around ruining my records.
His little grubby, chubby fingers touching everything.
But yeah, and she's up staying with that guy, which I thought was
Yeah,
pretty funny.
yeah.
The next scene I saw him in was like, he's like
He's just there now. He's just literally there. That's
He
it.
just moved in. He had nothing else going on. He's like, all right, I'll be
He probably
dad.
came over that night. He's like, so you're done?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. He's like, moving
All
my
right.
stuff in tomorrow.
Yeah, are you good? I don't. Yeah. But as an adult, Reggie and his band get hired to play backup for an American jazz band, and that's where he kind of gets it going. He starts getting all kinds of ideas, and Reggie learns from one of the singers about becoming famous, and he tells him that he's got to
He's got to kill the person he is.
be the
To
person
be the person
he
you wanna
wants to be, and that is what he fucking does, right?
He does.
Kills Reginald Dwight and invents Elton Hercules Johns. Steals the name from some other guy in his band. Kind of a dick move.
Yeah, kind of. And he brought it up to him too. He's like, "Yeah, I think I like Elton." He goes,
Yeah.
"That's my name." He
But
goes,
that
"What do
is
you
a
think about
a true story. He did get his name from that guy, and he actually stole the last name John, from another guy in his band too. In this movie, it made it seem like he got it from the
John
picture, but
Lennon,
it's not.
but it's
It was
not,
some other guy in his band, so he stole everything pretty much. But you got to do what you got to do.
You got
Elton John sounds a lot better than Reginald Dwight.
It does.
But so him and his band, and he also has his first kind of homosexual encounter during this.
He does.
Right.
He's briefly kissed by one of the jazz guys.
He is, and that's kind of his first. And we have to say, we didn't bring it up, but this movie's first major Hollywood motion picture to have a gay sex scene in it.
It is. Yep. We talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is
2019.
crazy.
Is that that's crazy to think
Well,
about?
and it definitely wasn't very risky either.
No, not at all.
It was very.
But I was
like,
thinking
yeah,
of going in. I'm like, man, we're about to see
some like serious. Yeah,
this guy's
that's what
gonna
I
get like a
thought, too.
train ran on by like 8 other guys. But
Yep.
no, it was. I mean, it was tasteful. It moved the story along.
It
It
did.
wasn't just there just for like, even when it's like heterosexual sex scenes, sometimes they just throw it in just because like,
Yeah.
we gotta show.
That's what
man.
film
We gotta
does.
get it
Yeah,
going.
we gotta get
these
something going on. Yeah.
We got these two very beautiful people. We just got to do it. But this one, it moved the story along. Yeah, and I honestly expected there to be a lot more. Even like
So did I, the
even
first
like
time I
that
saw it.
orgy scene where I say orgy scene, but it's in quotes because it's like it's a musical.
It's in like
scene.
the middle of a club.
It's
too,
in and exactly, and it's part of like the fantasy element of the song and what's going on. But yeah, it wasn't.
Well, none of them were naked. They were all fully clothed.
No.
So it wasn't like it was kind of sexual.
No one's
in
ever
nature,
really
but-
really fully naked. And I mean, during that sex scene, the first sex scene, I guess it shows his butt, but no, it's not.
No, none of them.
It's
are
not
ever
hanging
naked.
dong or
No,
anything like I thought it
nothing.
was going to be. I
Nothing.
thought it was going to be. I mean, it's still, but it was still.
You know what movie
so
showed
much,
more dick than this one?
Huh? A lot
Ma.
of movies. A lot of movies.
Have you
What?
seen Ma?
You saw Ma?
I did see it. I saw it yesterday.
It shows dick in it.
It does. Yeah.
You know, it didn't look too bad. I like Octavia Spencer, and it didn't get horrible reviews.
No, it didn't. I think, but it's you go in and you get exactly what it advertised.
Yeah, it was just
You
average.
get exactly what
Yeah.
advertised. It was average. It wasn't bad. I thought her performance was the best thing in the whole thing.
She is.
but-
Octavia Spencer is really good. Yeah, she's good. Yeah, I did want to kind of say, but that's still some dick in that, huh?
It did. It
That's
did.
hilarious. But still, so they managed not to show too much dong in this one, and still, was still much more riskier than Bohemian Rhapsody. But it played off much better than Bohemian Rhapsody did for sure. Taking the risk.
And obviously, yeah, definitely.
I mean, how do you? Again, I don't know how you make a story about Queen without a gay.
I don't get it either.
A gay
Yeah.
scene in it. But this is another thing we talk about. Another thing is what I think helped this movie along was the fact that Elton John is alive and the fact that
Yes.
he could, and he said he was there to say we have to show these scenes, even if they were risky, I guess you would say, which they weren't.
No,
really.
none of them were.
I've
no.
seen much worse for sure. But yeah, but having him there and saying that you have to show this and you have to show these scenes of me doing the drugs and drinking and everything, I think that helped it a lot. Because I think if Freddie Mercury was alive, he would have definitely had a different movie made.
Oh, for sure.
Because
Without a
it was
question,
way
'cause
too much. Yeah.
Well, and think about 2019 too. If he was still alive, he was able to see how far we've came. He would be a lot more honest.
Absolutely.
I really think he would be.
He would want that out
Yeah.
of his movie. If
Yeah.
you're going to make, he would want you to show. And that's why this movie was so good, because it showed the struggles. And Elton John, he was no saint. I mean, he's a good guy, but he wasn't perfect by any means. By
No.
any means. He
Yeah,
was
no.
a sex addict. He was a drug addict. He did a lot of pills. A ton of pills.
Yeah.
When he overdosed, he had 40 to 60 Valium in it.
That's insane. They had to pump that out of his stomach, man.
Yeah. When he really overdosed, he had 40 to 60. I don't even think you can get that in one bottle. I think you have to open up multiple bottles for that.
And that's probably what he did.
I think you have to take the time to unscrew 2 different bottles of Valium, which if you're having more than one bottle of Valium, cut yourself off.
I would say
if you're
that's
having
probably
to
a smart
pop
move.
open another bottle for one sitting, you're having too much fun, I think. I think it's not for pain anymore. It's for pleasure at this point. But yeah,
John Reed.
John Reed, who was also in Bohemian Rhapsody,
But
who even in this, apparently everyone says was a much more realistic version of him
of John Reed.
in this one.
Okay.
Because everyone says he's an asshole.
Right.
In Bohemian Rhapsody, they didn't make him seem like he was that big of an asshole for sure. And a lot of people say he was probably even abusive towards Elton John, which at one point he does hit him. I think that was kind
in
of
the phone
a
booth.
taste of it, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
John Reed.
But it's played by Richard Madden,
Yes.
which is, Game of Thrones, Robb Stark.
And John Reed is played by Littlefinger in Bohemian Rhapsody. That's what I thought you were going to get at, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Now I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird how that works.
So two.
Two Game of Thrones guys playing
the
John
same
Reed.
character, John Reed, yeah. Who John Reed is, we clarify, he managed Queen and Elton John, but it was also Elton John's boyfriend, lover.
At one time.
For a period of time. Which is crazy. That guy managed 2 of the biggest bands and
Crazy.
probably slept with both of their singers. What a life that guy had.
Oh, he definitely did. Yeah, he definitely did.
Well, he definitely slept with Elton John, and he most likely definitely slept with Freddie Mercury. I would definitely say it didn't show it in Bohemian Rhapsody because they didn't show anything, but I'm guessing that they at one point. I mean, how could they not? It just seemed like everyone was gay in those days.
I know, it was just all behind the
You
scenes.
never knew.
Yeah.
You never. I mean, everyone, even the singer that they go. I mean, his first gay encounter was with the band that he
The
goes
jazz
and plays.
kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was just random. I mean,
It was random.
You can't even go outside anymore without being So, but Elton John, he begins writing, and they finally meets up with Bernie Taupin, his lifelong partner. They answer a call in the newspaper about singer and songwriters, and they immediately click. Right?
Oh, they hit it off immediately. Over what was the song that they were bringing up?
It was a song that they were singing that everyone was playing at the time. It was a folk country song.
Folk, yeah.
That they both loved.
On the Road to something.
Yeah, I can't remember. But they both loved it. But the guy, when he went in to the manager, said, don't play that fucking shit because everyone's playing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they both love it. And that was a good scene, too. I love that scene. What's his name who plays... Jamie Bell did a great job. Who played Bernie?
As Bernie,
he did a very good job. Yeah,
I really we brought it up before, but their chemistry was great. It was really great in this. I really bought their relationship.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They seem like
brothers.
really good friends. Absolutely. Yeah. They say at one point that after working for 20 years, they didn't have any single argument, and they still say that. But it seemed like they had a few arguments in it.
Yes.
I don't know.
When they had an argument,
what counts as arguments
backstage.
in their eyes?
Yeah,
is it like a fist fight? Do you have to like stab each
Something.
other? But I like their relationship was awesome. Even when they were like arguing backstage during that scene, when he comes back and he goes,
sorry. He goes, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That was one of my favorite.
It was, yeah.
And it reminded me a lot of Elton John too, because we all know that, or we all knew and know that Elton John does have a temper. So I could definitely see that going down exactly the way it did in the film. And then, a couple seconds later, he comes back, grabs his hand. He's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because they were best friends. Yeah. They were like inseparable. And they said, because at one point, and it's kind of this whole dynamic. Well, Elton John, you kind of see that he was kind of always in love with Bernie. But Bernie wasn't gay, so it would never worked out. But it was kind of always that thing where, they could never be together or whatever, but they were always just really super good friends, though, and they wrote a ton of music together. But
when I thought that was portrayed well, up on the rooftop, where Elton goes to lean in to kiss Bernie, and he's like, "Hey, I love you, man,"
but just not like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And at that point, Ellen is dating his landlord or a landlord.
Yes,
and he dates women all throughout this, which Elton John did. He even married a woman at one point for
that's what a lot of them
did. 4 years. Yeah, because you kind of had to. No one really wanted to know.
That's what Michael Jackson did too.
Yeah, he did.
Michael Jackson did. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's it. But that's the one that comes to mind as musicians who weren't actually.
Well, Freddie Mercury got married.
Well, yeah.
With a woman for a long time, and it happens all the time. But with the difference between Michael Jackson, where he married Marie Presley, Elvis Presley's daughter, I don't think they loved each other at all. With Elton John, although it only showed her for a little bit, I think they were really, really good friends. And it was more of the Freddie Mercury and his wife kind of relationship. Well, they got married, but they were really just best friends, and they never even slept in the same room together.
Yeah, they were married for 4 years, 84 to 88.
84 to 88, yeah. Which was a little later, I think, than it showed it in the movie. But yeah, that's a pretty long time, 4 years. And in this, it really just breezes past it. She's not in it for very long.
No, it breezed past it very fast.
Yeah, but she did, right after they got divorced, she kind of did just, no one really ever heard from her again. She was like a sound engineer or something like that. She kind of did just disappear, like in the movie.
Yeah, just like in the movie.
But and it's revealed that Ellen is gay to Bernie for the first time or whatever before that at the jazz club or whatever, the band, and but Bernie accepts that Elton John is a homosexual.
That was a good scene too, because the one guy was like, "Oh, he's a homosexual," and then he was like, "Oh, you are."
Yeah.
He goes,
Would
it matter, Bernie, if I did? And he just looks at him for 5 seconds and he goes, not to me.
Yeah.
But
he goes, it might piss off our landlady.
Exactly.
And then the next scene, they get kicked out.
Yeah. Which was great.
Yeah.
Great storytelling.
Yeah, so they end up getting kicked out and returning back to Elton John's mom's house. Him and Bernie both moved back in there.
And that's when she's all fussing about the table and it's going to be clean around here.
And the whole time it's kind of doing that flashback of it's going back and forth between, like, back in, like, the 60s and 70s and between the AA meeting. Mm-hmm. And during this time, like, every time we get a flashback, Elton John's starting to take off, like, more and more of the devil costume, right? He's stripping off the
Yeah,
horns,
yep.
and it's kind of symbolic of what's going on and everything. But yeah, so they move in back, and it's one of my favorite scenes is the Your Song part, where he writes the lyrics and he goes and sits at the piano and he starts singing Your Song, which is an amazing scene.
Yes.
And it's really touching. As Bernie's there and he
hears him from above and then comes down.
yeah, exactly.
And
Because
you
it's
just
his
see it in
lyrics,
his
yeah.
eyes, too,
Because it's
man.
his
You
lyrics,
see it
yeah,
in his
coming alive,
eyes.
yeah. But and that they eventually end up going to a record producer, right, with that song.
Yeah, and that's played by what's his face, the guy from Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, the guy.
He also played Capone in something else too, but
he played Al Capone in Boardwalk Empire.
oh yeah, it was that's right.
Yeah, he's in a ton of stuff. He always plays a gangster. He's
always
British in
playing
real life, but he
someone,
always
yeah.
plays like a gangster. But in this one, he plays a record producer. I can't remember his song, but he's pretty famous. I think he worked with the Beatles also. But that impresses the record producer, and eventually they end up going and performing at the Troubadour in Los Angeles, which was a big nightclub.
I liked all the little shots we got of like Tower Records and stuff. You could tell they were drawn from somewhere else.
Exactly, and that is I was going to bring it up too, because that is a simple way. I mean, it was obvious that it was just old stock footage of the Hollywood Strip or whatever, updated, and then put it in the background. And that's a simple way because it's only a couple scenes instead of having
short.
to rebuild, downtown Hollywood in the 70s or whatever. Just use that stock footage, and it looks good.
It does look good.
And
It looks just fine.
Yeah, and some movies don't do that, and they'll film it like now and just add a couple things to make it look old. But yeah, I think it looked really good. That old stock footage. It's cool too to go back and kind of look, because it did look good. It looked like it was the old 1970s. But yeah, so they go and they perform at the Troubadour, which was a big nightclub, I guess. I'm not too familiar with it, but they go and Ellen meets John Reed there, or John Reed sees him, and eventually they meet at Mama Cass's house.
At the house, at the party.
Which
yeah.
was awesome.
But that scene, though, when they show up to the Troubadour was awesome, too. When, Bernie comes in drunk and he's like, Neil Diamond and whoever else were.
Yeah, we should talk about that. Yeah, his first night where he's really nervous to go on because he doesn't think. Because the entire time he has the lowest self-esteem. Like, we haven't talked about it all. But it's more of a story about just kind of a story about mental illness and how no one loved him when he was being a kid. So he never loved himself, and he never thought that he was good enough to be like the guy. Because he was always, that was back when ugly people were allowed to make music. So he got a lot better. But he never thought that he was that rock star image, right?
No.
Because he always thought he was just that fat little kid from whatever small English town.
And that's what he says, too. That's what we hear early on, he's like, how does a fat white boy, make music? And he was like, start writing it down.
And even when he's super famous, when he's selling millions of records, he still has that horrible, self-loathing mentality. Like, he's never good enough. And that's obviously, because his parents were dicks and
they never showed him any love at all.
So he never, ever showed himself love. And that's where it came from with the drugs and everything with having to do that. But, that first song when he's at the Troubadour and he plays Rocketman is fucking amazing.
It is.
When he goes on piano and everyone starts slowly floating up.
And then he floats up, too. I saw behind-the-scenes footage of how they did that.
It was
so
shot
cool.
it was awesome, man. It was so cool, yeah. But eventually they go and he goes to a party at Mama Cass's house, and that scene is awesome. The house is awesome. It's got super 70s vibe. Everyone's doing all kinds of drugs.
Oh, for sure.
Hippies. They got like a camp. I was really hoping we were gonna get someone that was playing Mama Cass, though. That was one thing I was missing out on this movie, is we didn't get very many people. We didn't get many other people playing famous people. In Bohemian Rhapsody, we get a ton of other people. Yep. I heard at one point Rami Malek was supposed to make a cameo in this as Freddie Mercury.
See, that would have been cool. That would have been really cool. I don't know how. Is that even real? Did they...
They were around the same time. John Reed was the
I know
man.
they were around the same time, but did they ever actually meet in real life? Elton John and him.
I'm guessing they had to. I think they both perform for Live Aid or something. I think they had to have
When
met.
was Live Aid? 86?
Yeah, they were. I mean, they were both
Oh, then,
around
yeah,
the same
yeah, they
time.
were-
yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure they have met before.
Yes,
yeah.
they have. There's pictures of them.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely was going to be possible. But I heard the director said wasn't really interested in making a huge cinematic universe of all these.
Of different, yeah.
That'd be cool though. We get an Avengers movie, Freddie Mercury, Elton John.
Elton John. He's
Maybe-
literally Rocketman, like in the end when he shoots off the stage.
But at this party, he feels left out because Bernie is, he's taking advantage
He's got a
of what's
dime
going
piece.
on. Oh,
Yeah,
for sure,
cool.
dude. I don't know who that lady was.
Yep, you know
but,
what? I'm curious enough to look it up, though. Let me tell you.
But yeah, but Elton John, he's kind of he's kind of feeling left out because he's gay, but no one knows he's gay, so he doesn't really know what to do. It's also a party. He still thinks he's just some loser British kid, and but then he meets John Reed, who's an asshole right from the start, I think, and he's attracted to Ellen. They sleep together. That's when we get our big gay Hollywood sex scene that just shook the world.
Yes, it did.
And were people fainting in your how many faints did you get? How many people were throwing
were screaming hysterically. They
what is
said,
this?
What is this? Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna be
no,
sick.
literally none
this
of it.
This is not what God wanted.
Yeah. You got a few of those people that scream that. Yeah.
I had a couple fainters. One guy threw up in his mouth, I think, behind me. Yeah, it was definitely controversial.
That's a problem.
It was, but yeah, so they sleep together, and that's when his career takes off, right? Not because he slept with them.
The way you phrase that's
Yeah,
interesting.
but
no.
during at this point
right.
in the film, that is when it's really after he plays the troubadour, and everyone starts
freaking out.
I mean, as soon as he plays Rocketman, people are like, this guy is something special. One, he's making everyone float around,
which is hard to do.
It's not easy.
No,
definitely
it's not the easiest thing.
But yeah, so they sleep together, and he starts adopting his new flamboyant personality. Right, this is when he starts going crazy.
Yep.
He starts getting wings. He starts getting hats. He's got all kinds of stuff.
A bunch of different costumes too.
A lot of bejeweled stuff. A lot of bedazzled. A lot of
He
diamonds.
likes his bedazzled.
Yeah.
And that's one thing he still is to this day.
Yeah, that's true.
Shopaholic.
Oh, he's a shopaholic.
He loves it.
That's the one vice he still has.
But hey, here's the thing: if you're Elton John, you got that kind of money, you might as well live it up.
Yeah, he's not hurting for
No,
cash.
no, not at all.
But so eventually, John Reed becomes his new manager. He fucks over his old managers and just says, "Hey, John," because John, I don't know what kind of spell he was casting on these people.
Or he just had some good dick, man.
He might have, dude. This guy might have been
slinging it
hung
around
like a horse because
and he just knew how to use it.
Yeah, he had Elton John and Freddie Mercury wrapped around his finger at one point. This guy must have been unbelievable. Great dresser. He always wearing that nice suit.
Yeah,
that
always
nice
looking
70s,
fresh.
Like
for sure.
8 buttons on that suit. You can't have enough buttons back then. But but Reed starts to manipulate Elton, right? This is when he starts doing it. He insists that he comes out. Oh, and this is when he comes out to his mom about being gay.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, yeah, kind of. In a way, there were a few scenes in between. But yeah, they're driving down, and he goes, pull over. He goes, the concert's in 15 minutes. He goes, I don't care, pull over the car. But the way he yelled like that is totally Elton John.
Yeah.
That was something where I was like, wow, that was really good.
Yeah.
Because even that's hard to do. It's like watching The Doors.
Oh, yeah.
Val Kilmer. When he did
The Doors, the movie.
Yeah, right. When he did the Jim Morrison impersonations, like doing the how Jim Morrison does. I was like, dang, that sounds just like him.
So they pull over and he calls his mom and tells his mom that he's gay. And his mom is like, I've known
for
you're
years.
the gayest guy of all time.
This is not surprising to me, son.
No shit.
You don't think the bedazzled stuff through
I know,
me?
no. But even at this moment when I'm like, oh, this is cool, it's like the 70s or like it's early.
Yeah,
it is 70s.
Actually,
and his mom's like,
cool.
she's like old British, and she's like, oh, I don't give a fuck. But then she just fucking drops a bomb on him, man.
You'll never be loved correctly.
Yeah. What the fuck? You had so much
know.
going on.
You were so close to having the audience actually like you for once.
Yeah, all she had to
and
say
then you
was,
shit the
"I've
bed.
always known and I'll always love you."
Yep, and I
Instead,
don't
she
care.
says, "You, no one will ever love you like I've never loved you." Yeah.
That's man.
But again, it's my theory runs correct. You have to have shitty parents to become a superstar.
Yes, you do.
You
have to
to.
have really shitty
You know
parents
why
to be
we're
super
not
successful.
prodigies? We're not just like we're not. Why I can't just hear a song and then play it on the piano?
Because we had good parents.
We weren't molested. One, not molested enough, at least.
Right.
we were
We're definitely
not enough to make a
condoning
story.
that.
Not enough to make it interesting.
Yeah.
Not even just the average amount. So it's not enough to actually have to be sad about it. Our parents weren't horrible to us. They showed us some affection, which is something I will never forget my parents for.
No, I'll never forgive them for the rest of my life. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Because I
And-
could have been something.
Yeah, and we didn't have an early cocaine habit early on. We weren't,
And
unfortunately.
that's the thing I'm going to do with my 11-year-old son. Son, let me show you something.
I'm not
This
going
is called the white devil. Okay?
You want to hit the slopes
You
with
wanna
your
hit
old
this-
man?
Yeah, with the old man.
I'm not going to force it, but I will leave it around the
Right.
house.
And if they want to try it, if they're curious enough, you just go
Who
ahead.
am I to
say
what am I,
no.
Hitler?
Yeah,
Am I,
what are we doing
is this
here?
communist Russia?
It's the freedom to choose, man. Just choose.
Yeah.
They choose the drugs.
And I hope he just happens to choose the life of
Yes.
cocaine, and then he becomes a rock star.
Exactly.
And that's, I
And
mean,
then he's paying for my house and my bills. So.
bingo, baby. He may only live to be 27, unfortunately, but what a run.
But you're still living off that residual income, my friend.
Yeah,
That
because you got to
royalty
think, if you
music
hate your
income.
kid already, it's really, I mean, it's dark, of course, to think about
very
it.
dark, yeah.
He passes, you're just still getting that kickback.
Still making money. Yeah, it's still making
And what
money.
the kid that you didn't like in the first place is gone now.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
It's a
to be
win-win,
honest with you.
absolutely. And this is why we're not parents.
No, we should not be allowed at all
probably
to
never.
have kids. But they would be great superstars though. Eventually,
They would have been.
They would-
They will be.
But yeah, man, you got to have shitty parents. Unfortunately, it makes great. It doesn't make great people,
No.
but it
But it
makes
makes
talented
successful
people. Yeah, and they're either gonna be talented at something good, or really talented at doing something bad,
Like,
like making furniture out of human beings.
yeah, that's probably
Like that's something.
that could be an issue.
But he'll be the best at that when it happens. It's a 50-50.
It's just not something
It's a
you
huge
particularly
gamble when
care
you
for.
are really bad to your kid, because it's either going to go one of two ways. Either way, you're going to be known.
This is
That
true.
last name is going to be known either way. So whatever you think you got to do it, they're going to be good at something. It might not be good at what they're good at, but they're going to make a living.
And they'll have a purpose.
They will, though, and that's a lot more than a lot of kids these days can say about them. So I don't want to get preachy about it. I don't want to start talking about these millennials.
Oh, the
But
millennials. I think
they don't
we're
got no
part of that.
purpose. Oh, yeah, we're
Yeah,
definitely
we're definitely
millennials.
part of that.
The Gen Zers are more the ones that we have to start hating on. That's the ones below us.
Yeah, that's right. We have to. Yep, we have to throw shade at them inevitably.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah, we have to start blaming things that they have.
Zero.
Well, most of them
impact
aren't
on,
even
and they-
graduated.
No, they haven't. No,
Most
they
of them
haven't
can't even
graduated.
vote. But let's start
But we
blaming
have
them.
to start blaming them.
What
now.
else are we going to blame? Us?
Us?
Or else,
Yeah, we
oh,
can't
we're going to take our blame?
accountability. Yeah, I'm not. I would rather shed the blame on someone
Yes,
else. Okay,
yeah.
I'm not here to take.
If we
responsibility
let's
for my
learn
actions.
from our ancestors, the baby boomers. Just keep pushing that down the line.
Just keep doing. It's been working. Just
Yeah,
fine.
let's do not
Gen
take
Z,
accountability.
deal
Yeah,
with it. Deal with all of our problems.
because you know what? They'll have kids, and then they can start blaming it on those kids.
Exactly.
Eventually,
and
we'll run
to
out of
wrap-
food, and people will stop having kids, and
Yes.
the earth will dry up, and but we'll be long gone.
And you know what? To bring this all
Full
the way
circle.
full
Please
circle.
bring this full circle.
1995, The Circle of Life, Elton John.
Yes.
And that is the circle of life, my friend.
Absolutely.
That is what we do.
Absolutely.
You have kids so you can blame them for shit later.
So true. Someone's got to bear the weight
Yep.
of
And it's
what
not
we
gonna
did
be the
back.
old.
Of what we did back.
It's always
No.
it's always on the
For
backs of the
some
young
reason,
people.
with the old people, because they're old and they made it this long, we say what they did in the past.
You get a pass. You're okay.
You lived, and that's all that counts. That's the ultimate currency.
It does.
You can do whatever the fuck you want after a certain period of time. after a certain old age.
Unless you're that one Nazi guy that got captured at 97 years old.
Well, yeah, okay. We should say Nazis are
Off limits.
Nazis
They're
are the
ones
outliers.
we
in this
gotta
one.
hang no matter
I think
what.
no matter how old you get, you're never gonna be forgiven for
Never.
being a Nazi. Which, if you are a Nazi and listening to this, you should take to heart. You're never gonna be not blamed for being a Nazi. Okay, so just don't be a Nazi. If you're gonna learn anything from this podcast, don't be a Nazi.
Yes. I would hope that is the resounding message we are sending out to the
Absolutely,
youth.
it's all.
Don't be a Nazi. Just don't do it.
So Ellen, he tells his mom he's gay. His mom's like, I don't give a fuck. No one's gonna love you. Make more good music, and I still won't love you. Then Ellen goes to his dad, thinking that's gonna be a good idea. If my mom's not gonna love me, maybe my dad, who never loved me, is gonna love me. Guess what? Doesn't fucking love him. He's more just of a fan now, and not even a big fan.
Not even a fan.
He's more of a
coworker fan kind
It's
of
more
thing.
of a just so he can get popular at work, just so he can probably get the receptionist.
Arthur
to look
must
at
be
him.
a pretty nice guy. He must be his boss or something.
Yeah. So he goes to his dad. His dad's got kids that he actually loves. That which really hurts Ellen, obviously, because he's seeing this.
Man. He's seeing them hug him.
Yeah, and
He
his
never
dad.
got a hug from his dad.
And I
Ever.
guarantee these little shits can't play piano.
No, hell no. They have no good qualities about
No,
them.
because
Not
they're
that I
loved.
saw. Exactly.
I didn't get to hang out with these kids very much, but not a fan.
No,
of what
I
I
was
was
not
seeing.
a fan. I kind of wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and now his dad's like the super dad, and and even when you think something good is gonna come out of this, his dad's like, "Can I get an autograph?" And even then, it's like, it hurts. Obviously, it hurts him because he's like, well, he's not even my dad; he's more of just a fan.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's like, "Can you make it out to Arthur?"
And then that's
the
like
janitor
a
at
double
my job. This guy that I don't even
I do
care.
have to say though, Cash, I would be extremely happy if Elton John's dad gave me that in my janitorial closet. I'd be like, dude, thanks, man.
Absolutely, but
Elton
then
John.
you'd be like, man,
other
you
than
must be
that-
so proud. And then he goes,
Nah, I don't really talk to the guy much.
I'm
It's
not
kind
a
of an
fan.
afterthought.
I'm more of a jazz guy.
Yeah, this is not my genre of music. I'm good.
But he's the biggest star in the world. Nah, I'm not. It's not for me. It's not really my style.
Not my taste.
Not my speed, really. Don't know a lot about him, honestly. Not a big personal
I really
fan.
wasn't involved in his life very much, as a matter of fact.
I had no part in the upbringing, so
Zero.
it's more of a acquaintance relationship. I would say we see each other in passing, but not tight at all. No.
Some small talk takes place.
Yeah, and he's saying all this to the janitor
Of
that he
course.
just gave her.
Guy's like, dude, this is a lot of information.
He's like, you're a pretty bad dad, to be
yeah,
honest
not the
with
best
you.
one.
But
On second thought, I almost feel guilty for asking you to have your son sign this.
why would you? Yeah, I feel like there was an obvious rift that I brought between you two.
That probably just got deeper and larger in many ways.
Yeah, are you saying this is the only kind of love you've ever shown your kid? Is me asking you to get a signature from? So yeah, that's the closest I've ever been.
That's it.
That was the proudest I've ever been of that kid.
Oh my gosh.
Brutal life, but
It
again
is.
makes talented people. So in some way, we got to thank Stanley or whatever the fuck his name was for being
Stan
an
Lee?
asshole. I can't remember what his name was. Stanley.
No, I know, but Stan Lee.
No, we're not.
The
not
way you said Stan Lee was just funny. It reminded me of Stan Lee.
Not the comic. No, not the comic book. He had no part in this.
No, he did not.
He, I think, was a good father. That's what I hear.
Yeah, from what I've heard, yeah. All things considering.
But so Ellen storms away, and John Reed comes back, says, "Don't you ever goddamn do that. We had a contract." And again, managers are always the worst.
They're always the worst.
They're like
people.
subhuman. They
have
care
zero feelings about.
Not even that, where it's like they're almost purposely sabotaging you to hurt you. But again, when you gotta think of a manager, the best thing that can happen to your client is they like overdose, because that just makes your music super fucking popular, right? That's the
And
best.
it hits the airwaves more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially with news and stuff. I mean, it's a sad thing to think about, but it is true.
Yeah, but so John just gives it to him. He punches Ellen at one point, hits him straight in the mouth, and he orders him to stay focused on his shows, and that's what happens. That's kind of the peak of how his shitty life. I mean, it's good on the outside with him, but not a lot going on. And at this point, Bernie is starting to become more distant because Bernie, he's got his own thing. He's probably doing a boatload of drugs, I assume.
Oh, himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's got all kinds of things he's got to worry about, and so Ellen's really, he's really got no one. And he starts hitting the alcohol, the cocaine, the cannabis, the sex. He's hitting it hard now. He's lonely. He's upset. He begins to have short temper with people, consuming drugs and alcohol. One day at his recording studio, he meets Renate Blue, I think her name was. She shows him the first kind of compassion ever that anyone in the music industry has ever showed him, and she eventually shows a little empathy for him, and she says that it must be lonely being a famous singer. Eventually, Elton John says, I gotta marry this chick. She's the only one that showed me any kind of love. They do get married.
They do.
They eventually get married for 4 years. It's not as long in this.
No, it
It's
literally
more of
looked like
a
it was
day.
next day, like the day after the marriage. He's like, yeah, on second
But
thought.
it is powerful where he goes to breakfast and he pours that alcohol, that half
of
full
the
vodka.
bottle. Yeah.
But that just made me really think of. That seems like something very realistic that an alcoholic would do.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yes.
it's that thing of pour it all the way up to the top and then a drop of orange juice and be like, this is not. I'm having a screwdriver. Everyone has
Yeah,
screwdriver.
screwdriver.
But it's 98% full of vodka, and you'd be like, this is fine. Orange juice is breakfast.
And he pounded it too.
He
at the
pounded it
table.
hard. Well, he was an alcoholic, yeah. So that's how you start your day. You got to pound it, and it's a very sad scene because she really
She
did.
realizes it too.
She did, and she and what a crazy thing for her to do to marry him. I mean, I think really she just felt really bad for him. She saw how lonely he was and how sad, and they both kind of cry and whatnot, and eventually it flashes back to the relation or the AA meeting, and he talks about, and they ask him if he was happy, and he's like, no, not really. I'm pretty fucking gay.
Yeah,
He's like,
that was a great moment.
That was really gay. He's like, no, I'm pretty gay. I'm pretty sure. So it wasn't a great marriage. And
I like the way too that they were talking about his wife Renate, and he goes, that she didn't deserve that.
yeah, he apologizes to her. He says he's sorry, and she says I know during that because she knew that he was hurting her.
Not that it's important, but I wonder if she got any money from the divorce. I mean, I'm assuming if.
For sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. But like I said earlier, she kind of just disappeared. I've never heard from her.
There's
again.
nothing on
Yeah,
her
absolutely.
either.
There's nothing. Yeah. So I don't think that makes me think that she wasn't in it for the money or whatever.
No, not at all.
Which is pretty goddamn lucky because I'm sure there's a lot of women that would have married him
Many women.
and just milked him dry. So he got lucky there. They divorce eventually, and Ellen commits to rehab. And he commits to the rehabilitation group that he should not have hurt her like that. Oh yeah, he says that it wasn't right of him to do that.
Yeah.
But and it was kind of awkward, the whole relationship with them not living in the same room and whatnot. Awkward mornings for sure.
Definitely.
For definitely awkward mornings. But yeah, and he's and then he just starts hitting the drugs even harder, right? He's confused, he's hungover, he's exhausted. He wakes up days after sleeping to tell Reed that he wants to take a break and spend some quality time together. And he wakes up, Mary wakes up, and he's like, where the fuck am I? And she's like, you're in your house in L.A. Who knows how the hell he got there? And then his parents show up, of course.
Well, right before that, he was like, "Hey, I think we need to talk about our relationship."
Oh,
And
yeah,
he's
we
getting
got that.
blown by the assistant.
He's gonna blow you by the
Just
pool.
out in the middle of nowhere. There's the yard workers out there. They're working. This guy doesn't care.
Yeah, and earlier he's like, maybe you should get a girlfriend. We want this to be private. Why he's getting a blow job
In the middle of the
to his
day.
assistant. Yeah.
Gosh.
But yeah, so he's getting a nice little blowy going on. Ellen's a little upset by this.
He's not happy.
Although I don't think Elton John was really being true to a relationship.
Was being faithful either?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't-
no, probably.
I really don't. I mean, I thought it was, but that kind of made him upset because he wanted to spend time with them. But then this is when he finds out that John was. He's not in it because he likes Ellen. He's in it because he just wants money. He's a manager. He doesn't give a fuck.
And he got
about him.
20% of everything.
Exactly. He just wants him to do more shows, right? He's got to get him out there. But and they break off their relationship, but Reed claims that he does not care as long as Ellen is making him money, because he says, I'll be making my 20% long after you're dead, which is a pretty good burn, to be honest. Pretty good sting if you're going to break someone's heart, for sure. And later that day, Ellen has a big house party with his parents there. Again, his mom's Elvis boyfriend is still there. And Ellen consumes a dangerous amount of drugs. Takes a handful of uppers.
He does. Because he's upstairs. And Bernie tried to bring those two girls up to talk to meet Elton.
That was a while. That was the first time we saw Bernie in a while, yeah.
And you could tell that Elton was fucked up on drugs and pills and alcohol, and he's like, "Fine, we'll just go back downstairs." And then that's when he pops the pill bottle open, takes probably 30 or 40 uppers.
Oh, for sure.
And then he goes downstairs and he goes, "For my final
washes
act."
that down with some vodka.
He does,
which is
of
never
course.
good.
What else are you gonna wash it down with? Water?
No,
that makes no sense.
I always recommend if you're taking a bunch of pills and your throat's dry, hit that with some vodka. You know, nothing goes down smoother. Nothing's. Wine and cheese go good together.
Right.
Uppers
Pills
and
and
vodka.
Yeah, it's just they go hand in hand.
Really, they're
do. Seamless.
But so go on. So he takes the pills,
and then he goes down to the pool party, or not really technically a pool party, but the party downstairs. And he gets on the diving board and goes, "For my final act, I will kill myself." And then he falls right into the pool.
And he did, and that is how he did it. He's actually tried to kill himself multiple times, I'm pretty sure. I think he stuck his head in an oven one time and tried to do it by gas poisoning. But yeah, he really did that. He took, like I was talking about earlier, 40 to 60 Valium, which is enough to kill a full-grown African elephant.
Oh, my God. How did he survive that? They just must have pumped it out in time.
And I love that. That scene was so good. We haven't talked about it a lot, but that fantasy elements where he's put on the stretcher.
Pool scene. Yes.
Yeah, that pool scene where he falls into the pool and he's floating down and down, and then the people
you've got
dive
the little
in.
Elton playing the piano on the bottom of the pool,
and it's that slow Rocketman, just the piano, just the tone, the background tone. It's very good. He's floating down towards him, and all the people float down. And it's kind of like a synchronized pool dance kind of thing.
Yeah, pool swim thing.
And then they pull him out of there, put him on the stretcher, get him to the hospital, and then they kind of lift him up. And again, it's awesome. And they strip all his clothes off.
Well, because what's so interesting about that was literally within 48 hours, he had to go play at Dodger Stadium.
And he really fucking did.
And he really did that. Yeah. So the transition there, that's what I'm talking about with these transition pieces. They're so fucking awesome because they take you from one part of Elton John's story to the next.
Yeah.
And they do it seamlessly, man. It just looks so good.
And talk about that Dodger Stadium scene was amazing. And it wasn't, talk about Taron Egerton putting his own spin on it. It wasn't a mirrored act. It wasn't a mirror, like he wasn't doing exactly what Elton
like
John,
what
like it wasn't
Bohemian
just
Rhapsody did with Live
exactly.
Aid.
It wasn't just exactly what he was doing, because I mean, well, why even do that? Why would I not just go and watch the video of the real person? I mean, why do I want to go see someone just doing the exact that stadium, the LA Dodgers show was awesome, where it blended those fantasy elements.
Mm-hmm.
But the show itself, yeah, it was super cool. And seeing all those people, what a fucking show that would have been.
It would have been awesome. That costume's
him
sick too.
I know him
that
standing on there and hitting the ball
yeah.
into the crowd and everything with the Pumas on. Yeah, man, that would have been fucking awesome. Yeah, he did that 48 hours after ODing.
Insane.
That's crazy, but he said that was normal, stuff like that. Said it happened all the time.
Life of the rock star.
For sure, man. And his mom and dad were there too. That's not easy.
No, not a easy pill to swallow.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
No, not at all.
No, definitely intended.
Eventually, Ellen falls out with both his mother and Bernie, feeling angry, increasingly agitated and depressed. He consumes... this is the part. Yeah, he kills himself, or he tries to kill himself. He ends up having a heart attack, right? They didn't even say he OD'd. He had a heart attack.
Palpitations in the heart, but that was when he fell down the stairs.
Oh, yeah, that was after that. Yeah, that was after he goes... Because like this whole time you're thinking, oh, man, he OD'd in the pool. He's got to be done with drugs. No, he just keeps it going. He for sure just keeps it going. He goes back to his house. Eventually, he has another heart attack because he's doing just mountains of cocaine. He's doing
all the time.
Scarface style.
Yeah, he had that giant tray of cocaine with the dollar bill that he was just hitting rail after rail. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, you got to slow down. My heart was racing.
And during
watching
during that, doesn't the orgy scene happen right after that Dodger? Doesn't it go right into the Dodger scene to the orgy scene?
the orgy scene?
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm pretty sure it
No,
does.
because he shoots out into the plane with Bernie.
Oh yeah,
and
I
then he's
forgot
in the
about
plane,
that. Yeah,
and then
he's in
that's
the
when
plane.
Bernie's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna go home for a while, and then it's the drugs again.
Then it's the drugs, and even then at that orgy scene, some lady's giving him cocaine there, and he's doing so he keeps it going, and he keeps the party going for sure. And eventually he has a heart attack at the stairs of his apartment,
of his
right? And he
house,
falls, he falls down, but he's not looking good at this point at all.
No.
He is looking pretty ragged.
and he played at Madison Square Garden the next day after that.
yeah. How cool.
Because that was sold out too.
Yeah,
It's insane.
and I like the scene where he's there and he's like he's singing and he's like, "Thank you, Australia or New York
Or New York or
wherever
wherever we are.
whatever."
Yeah, and they're like, boo.
yeah. But he always put on a good show. I think no matter what,
Yeah.
no matter how fucked up he was, I think he always did what he had to do. Hard worker. But so he has the heart attack and Reed tells the news that he has like a mild chest infection or something, and he tells Ellen to get back on stage for his next performance. And he realizes his life is spiraling out of control. Elton leaves the performance and finally seeks help.
Yep.
And at the Madison Square Garden, that is where he goes from Madison Square Garden to the rehab, because that's when he's got his
Right in a taxi too, with
Right
the
in a
whole
taxi, yeah.
costume and everything.
And he's singing. What song is he singing at this point? What is it?
Oh, I don't remember. I'm Still Standing.
No, I'm Still Standing is at the very end.
Yeah, it is.
But that's because it starts out with Bernie singing at first, and then he starts singing or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I can't remember, but it's a really good scene. Yeah, and he goes straight from there, and at this point he keeps flashing back, and when it's flashing back, he doesn't have the costume on at all. He's just wearing like the robe, and that's kind of to symbolize how vulnerable he's made himself.
And I love that too. That was one of my favorite things. We've talked about it, but the symbolism with the costume was great.
Yeah.
Because he came in full steam ahead, an entire devil costume. But throughout the film, and I know you already brought this up, but it's just an interesting point to me, that throughout it, the costume pieces were slowly starting to fall off until we get him in just the robe.
Yeah.
Where he's super vulnerable at the end.
more vulnerable than
It's
anyone
very
else.
good
Yeah.
storytelling.
And it was
Very
kind of the
good.
whole thing where he could never ask for help the entire time. I mean, that was never. That's the big thing that he had to do. And again, it becomes more of this story, more than it is about Elton John. It's more of this struggle with addiction and mental illness and all that, and kind of learning to love yourself, because that's what he had to do to seek help first. He had to start, and he eventually started realizing that he doesn't need to rely on his parents or his mom or anyone else. He's got to rely on old Elton Hercules John, the big man himself. But so eventually he rejoins with Bernie, and he gives him some lyrics, and it goes into the I'm Still Standing music video, which I fucking love.
That was awesome.
Because again, it was one of those things where it's like, at some point you couldn't tell if it was Elton John or Terry Edgerton.
And for that was and that was shot by shot too.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
look at the
that was the
original
one that was
footage,
shot by
yeah,
shot, yeah,
that
yeah.
was, and I like that. I like that stuff. I like when they
Because
add that.
because it ended on it, and it was a nice thing to end on for sure. But so he goes. Yeah, and he starts worries. That's how it ends. It ends with I'm Still Standing. He returns to performing because he was worried about that he wouldn't sound as good without the drink and the drug, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Bernie kind of laughed it off and said, it's all about you. It was never about those things and whatnot. And he's been sober for like 20 years since then.
Ever since.
So I guess he didn't fucking need the alcohol or drugs.
No, they never do.
No, the real ones, the real good ones don't, for sure. But, I mean, it is fun.
It is fun. It is fun, my friend.
It is.
It's a fun life.
It is fun for sure. I mean, he had some good times, and
He
what
had a lot
a
of good
life
times.
did he fucking live, man. How exciting would that have been?
Still living it too. I watched some interviews with him and Taryn together, doing press for this movie, and Elton, he brought up something interesting. He goes, I'm 76 years old. I think he said 76. But he goes, I'm 76 years old, and I've had a long, lustrous career, but this this time in his life, he goes, is one of the most successful years he's had. Which is
Oh, yeah.
incredible. You know, his whole career, like how influential Elton John was in music, but for him to say like this year was one of his favorite years.
Yeah.
One of his best years.
72.
72.
Yeah. Well, he is. You can tell just by hearing him talk and speak that he is just enjoying every day, and that he's happy. Because for someone that has had almost died multiple times, and for one to be homosexual and especially around when AIDS and everything,
The whole pandemic of AIDS.
I don't know if he was just smarter than everyone else, but man, did he get fucking lucky? Did we get lucky?
Yeah.
That he never
That he
ran
didn't get AIDS in
into
the 80s,
a
man.
problem. Because just imagine how many people he was around and how many people he knew that died of AIDS back then.
Well, and then the whole
Especially being gay in the
Freddie
gay
Mercury
community
thing,
and
too,
everything. So I mean, he must have seen a ton of people die. And at the end, it did say that he does have a huge.
charity foundation.
Yeah, he's raised almost $500 million
Crazy.
for worldwide
World
AIDS
AIDS.
epidemic around the world. Man, that's crazy. But yeah, man, I'd say he probably got pretty lucky for sure. No AIDS scare or anything. Well, Mason, what did you think about it? What did you think about the Elton John biopic Rocketman?
I was honestly, I was blown away in many different facets of this movie. Like I thought this was a biopic movie that it's almost the template. I'm trying to think of a better word, but it's like the outline of what a biopic movie should be for musicians. I really love the way that they use the music to move along the story. I thought the acting was incredible. I thought Taron crushed. And, you know, we're talking about Academy Award. Like, I think he should definitely be in the running for a nomination for the Academy Awards next year or this coming year, whatever. But no, dude, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was amazing. Everything I expected. I gave it an A. Solid A.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
liked it.
Yeah,
and, you know, I went and saw it twice, and that if I go see a movie twice, it's got to be worth my time, and this definitely was.
Yeah, I agree. It's either that with musicals especially, and even with biopics about musicians, you either got to go one way or another. You got to go the walk the line where it's very realistic and it's a realistic approach, or you got to kind of go more of the fantasy element, more of the like. Well, it's more of like Grease. You know, it's and I liked and for an Elton John biopic, I think that is the right route to go. And showing the drug use and everything, which was a huge part of his life, is the right route to go. Like I said, this movie was deeper. It was darker than Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah, and I loved it. Yeah, with summer movies, it seems like it's they're either good or they're fucking bad.
Yeah.
But this is one of those ones that was just really good. Yeah, and Taron Egerton, like you said, killed it as Elton John.
Awesome.
You gotta put him in the running for Oscar because it's arguably his best performance for sure. And did you know who was in talks to play Elton John before Taron?
Yeah, it was Daniel Radcliffe and
Yeah, at one point Daniel Radcliffe was. Tom Hardy was attached for a few years to play Elton John.
ooh.
Yeah, and Elton John's picked to play him originally because this movie has been in development hell for a really long time.
Has it?
Yeah, Elton John and his husband, Brian Furnish or whatever, they've been trying to get this movie made for decades, like 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But Elton John at first wanted Justin Timberlake to play him.
Oh, back in the early 2000s, that would make sense.
That was his choice because apparently Justin Timberlake played a young Elton John in a music video for us, and he thought he would have been perfect for it.
James McAvoy was the other one.
Yes, James McAvoy,
Yes,
yeah.
that was the other one. I couldn't think
Tom
of it.
Hardy. Now, Tom Hardy, I can see maybe doing a good one. A good Elton John. But I cannot see Daniel Radcliffe.
No.
He doesn't have the body for it. He's way too
I
skinny
think
and
James
scrawny.
McAvoy could, though. You don't think? After seeing him in Split and seeing how good of an actor, like just in general
I think
he
Taron
is?
Egerton has the closest build of
Yeah, for sure.
of Elton
No,
John.
and I mean Taron did it. I mean, we're obviously talking about Academy Awards here, so obviously
yeah, out
they
of people,
made the right choice.
oh yeah,
but-
absolutely. Because I don't think out of all those people, I don't think anyone could have done a better job than Taron Egerton. But I have people that I could see. I think Tom Hardy and probably James McAvoy probably could have. But neither of them I don't think could have done a better job than Taron Egerton. And I don't think either of them can sing as good as Taron Egerton. I actually
Yeah,
know for a
good
fact
point.
that James McAvoy can't. And unless Tom Hardy's been keeping a secret for a very long time, I don't think they can sing. So you somehow had to find a combination of someone that could sing like Elton John and someone who looks vaguely enough like him. And somehow they did it. Because I don't think they added a lot of makeup or anything to make him look like Elton John.
No, I don't think so either.
A good wig, and they obviously had to make a space between his teeth, which they just did with black makeup. But yeah, he did. He killed it.
He did.
He killed it.
Yes,
Yeah,
he
and
did.
I give it an A also. I say go see it. So you
highly
would recommend for sure.
Highly
yeah.
recommend. Go
if
see
you
this
went and
movie.
saw Bohemian Rhapsody and liked it, like a lot of people did for some goddamn reason, because it made $1 billion, then you're gonna fucking
Love this one.
Rocketman.
Really
you're
enjoy
gonna
this.
love
Yeah.
Rocketman if you like Bohemian
Because again,
Rhapsody.
as we talked about before, but like it kind of felt like a musical in its own way too. You know, like an actual
It
musical.
did. It felt like
a
you were
movie
seeing
musical.
not just a movie, but like a show. Like
Yes.
it almost felt like you were somehow involved with. I don't know, because everything was so. I don't know, with all the dancers and everything being choreographed. Guaranteed, this is becoming a Broadway show.
Oh,
100%.
yeah, that'd be
This
cool.
will be
That'd be
made
such a
for
cool
sure.
Broadway
oh,
show.
absolutely. Yeah, it would be a perfect Broadway
Oh
show.
man, that gives me goosebumps. That'd be a fun show to go watch.
Oh yeah, I guarantee this is being made into a
With the
Broadway show. It's
piano.
perfect. It's already there for sure.
It is.
Well, all right.
Alrighty. You guys know where to find us. And that's it.
Yes, they do. All right.
Dude, I gotta pee.